I feel like that's another thing is this idea of tampering with nature. You're going to pay the price, so to speak. Like that one's made very clear with the Will Smith version where like we tried to find a cure for cancer and then we end up creating this worse disease because initially it's like kind of we see like in that the newsreels and whatever that like all these people cured and everything like that, and then it kind of quickly turns to flipping where like, oh well, actually we kind of now all these people are sick and we don't know why, stuff like that. So I think that's like kind of another kind of theme I think that runs through these is that like which Omega Man kind of changes to like we actually literally destroy ourselves, but then like in the I Am Legend with the Will Smith is like kind of the idea that like we undo ourselves by trying to find something that we're not meant to find or something. I think it's that idea.
Yeah. I think as well there's also this sort of foreshadowing of the people turning into creatures at the start of the Will Smith one with this sort of herd of deer running through, and then it's the vampires are running through later on. But you could almost say that if the point of the Omega Man is that there are these two sort of social groups that don't really understand each other, you could say perhaps they're sort of alluding to that we are so disconnected from nature that us sort of tampering with it is another, that's the system, and they're sort of comparing perhaps.
And I think what's striking is, with having, like kind of the animals running through the city and stuff like that, is that like, we can, it's this idea that we can, mess around, we can kind of screw things up for ourselves, but then nature's going to come back, ultimately that's what's going to, still be here long after, we're dead. In fact, I think it's like this, I don't know about trope, but it's like kind of, we sometimes it's a joke, I guess, about like, long after we nuke ourselves, the cockroaches will still be roaming the earth and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you from living in a place where we tried various forms of poison and the cockroaches do keep coming back regardless. And
boy, they are some huge ones. I know that. Like I was born in like a tropical environment. It seems like that's these tropical places. That's where they really thrive.
Oh God, yes, yeah, it's horrendous. But anyway, yeah. So if you could improve any one of the three movies, how do you think you would improve it?
I think with I Am Legend, absolutely, like kind of just like have better CGI. I mean, that's like the simple kind of thing that like one, like there's a lot of things that like it's definitely not a perfect movie, but it's to me like the strongest one out of the different ones, and it's that's the one thing that like kind of to me like I just like really like you went all this distance with everything else, you spend all this money on everything else, and then this is where you fall short. Like kind of. It's like they might as well have had like Shrek or something like that. It would have been looked more realistic or something.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was that you could have done CGI better. The dialogue could have been just a huge amount better. I think as well, this idea of giving the vampires more of a sentience and some sort of motivation, reason, perhaps, or some sort of other thing other than just to eat people would have been. I don't know. I think there's something they could have done there that made it more interesting, because this twist with the trap was so kind of powerful. They've got the intelligence to move a mannequin, set a tripwire, and do all this and take him hostage, and yet there's no other indications they've had any other rational thought aside from that. It was just a bit of missed opportunities for me. I'm gonna differ from you here. I think the Omega Man was by far the best of the three.
Wow. Okay.
I really enjoyed that, just because one, it was kind of, you can see obviously like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez must have got some inspiration from that, because it really is just it's kind of quite a fun but albeit bleak kind of pulp kind of movie. And also I just thought Charles Heston driving around in a sports car brandishing a machine gun and having zippy one-liners was much more up my alley. But that was actually one thing that did strike me, actually, just about one-liners, is that they're quite an interesting device in a movie to get the audience to identify with the character. because he is obviously the last man alive. So all of
Mhm.
his one-liners are delivered for the audience.
Right.
Just like, and I thought about that some more. And I thought, well, actually, James Bond's one-liners are nearly always delivered after he's killed someone.
Yeah.
So kind of like him talking to the audience.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was just, I think just the outfits, especially the music, the soundtrack was fantastic with the Omega Man. And just the whole sort of vibe of it was, I just enjoyed it a lot more.
The creatures, I have to admit, were probably more terrifying. You know, kind of having, you know, like as much as like kind of, you know, Charlton Heston apparently didn't like the makeup and stuff. I thought, you know, like kind of they were more terrifying than the bad CGI. I mean, it just, you know, was scary to kind of see these creatures with like kind of the pale eyes and stuff like that. So I thought that was like kind of more effective.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was more kind of like their sort of dogmatic beliefs, and they could be sort of reasoned with, even though they were kind of sentient. It was kind of, I suppose, kind of scary in a way. But they did look a bit. I mean, I don't know why their outfits had to be sparkly. That was a bit sort of weird. But yeah,
Yeah, that was definitely like one of those choices that we can't account for. I don't know if anybody will ever be able to
uh,
kind of explain that one.